What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Overwatch Underground. It's not coming home today. I forgive you if you have not watched all the 20 plus Overwatch matches over the weekend, given there was Wimbledon, NBA Finals, Euro Cup, Copa, all sorts of sports were on, and it was a good weekend of sports. But that's why I'm here. That's why you're tuning in, right? I watched every minute, just about, of every match, at least for the ones leading up to the knockouts. So I'm about to go through some Stats Lab high scores here. I'm about to go through some key pickups and key changes in value. Just keep a minor footnote that I've not watched all of the knockout matches yet. I did vet that I'm not giving any terrible advice based on what happened in those matches, but if you saw something with your own two eyes in the knockouts, I haven't seen it yet, and go with your gut instead of with what I say, because I'm just some dummy on the internet with a really bad YouTube channel. Always go with your gut, not me. So, we got Stats Lab, we've got key pickups, let's go! Alright, so here's some pretty colored stats for you to look at. I'm not going to get too much into this. This is mostly just to show you a quick overview. You can always log in a draft buff and check scores, but I like the color coding. I like sifting through this just to get a quick overview of what happened. And hey, we finally got Stats Lab timely this week, so why not go through it? So, Shy, top scorer of the week. Big surprise there for me considering he was playing against the Valiant, but that match ended up being a little bit more competitive than we thought it was going to be. We have some familiar names there at the top as far as high performers that probably won't surprise you. Although maybe maybe Gushui outscoring Bernard, pretty interesting. Calios shows up here in his first week. He scored pretty well. And a little bit further down the list, we've got Lateyoung as well. So both new entrants on the off-tank category, having solid outings. And if we scroll down the list, Guangbong, being a serviceable DPS player here, outscoring IM37, nearly outscoring Kevster. Interesting stuff all the way down. I'll go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, or at least close to the bottom, just so you can see how poorly those Outlaws did this week. Rest in peace, my Draft Royales. On the per 10 basis, you can ignore some of the small sample size and crazy aggressive play from the likes of Faraway, Gaga, who split time with Ameng. Leave is always doing great, and all those hunters really near the top of the list this week. Closer, we'll talk about him a little bit later. I hope you didn't start him. Pretty rate, but we'll get to the reason why here soon. Once again, I'll scroll down the list. Always kind of interesting to see who's racking up points at a faster rate than others. But, yeah, not too much to glean out of it, I suppose. So, that's it. Quick overview on stats. We'll jump back to stats here and there just a little bit. But most importantly this week, let's get to the key pickups. At the start of the weekend on Twitter, you may have seen me say I was not entirely sure whether Kalios or Lateyoung would be the better pickup. I have not kept up to speed with Calios in contenders. And Lateyoung, we haven't seen him a ton either. So, now that the weekend is over and done, I can very confidently say I like Calios more than Lateyoung. Calios is a pretty good pickup this week. You saw him in Stats Lab, he scored fairly well. And in this particular clip, he is doing a pretty good job here. First of all, he avoids the dive. And then his flux gets Shy. Overall, a solid play, nothing crazy here. We'll get to a few more that are a little bit more interesting. But this one kind of showed the whole breadth of his level of play. If I go back and speed it up just a little bit, we've got the Nano coming on to Calios. MCD Nano's Gushui, Calios is the target, and he uses Flux. If we pause and go back, he uses Flux and floats up in the air. He knows he's a danger, so he's using this ult more defensively than he is offensively. But hey, while you're at it, why not try and grab Shy? It's a really safe play to make sure that they don't lose the point. And then, I always like seeing some solid left clicks here. So really smart play by Calios, the kind of thing that you say, well, it's not like he had some kind of insane mechanics, but really solid decision making. Calios most made a name for himself this week by eating a bunch of ultimates. On the whole, we have here him eating one from Shy, and it is really helpful in winning the team fight. This one gets really messy, and in one of these really close team fights, that pulse eat can sometimes be the difference in how things go. So really impressive. Keeping an eye on Shy all night long. And we'll get to his stats lab here in just a moment after we watch him eat one more ult in the next clip. This one, we get a nice first person, or actually I should say third person view of Kalios eating the ult. Rascal, maybe a little bit of a bad idea here. He throws in frisbee golf style. Hey, Volamel, I love that term that he uses. He throws in his Mei ult frisbee golf style, which is always dangerous, very frequently a bad idea. And here we see why, because when there's seasoned vets like Kalios out here, they have the chance to react. And even just as that ult is starting to come up, he has a completely reactive eat. And that's the kind of thing that can help you in a team fight. And in this case, I'm going to fast forward because the fight is really messy. NYXL nearly loses the fight. And it's the kind of play where, yeah, Kalios died right afterwards. But when you eat that ult, it swings the fight just enough to allow them to contest the point. So all in all, very important eat. And in and of itself, nothing amazing, but one of those reactive plays where he's on his toes and you'll take that. Speaking of Stats Lab and some of my mediocre visuals, he ate 5 ults in one weekend. Next over Fury and Hotba, who had 3. I don't know about you, but I think that's a good sign that this guy's playing pretty well. If you go to the rates over here, Space, hey, if he would have played the same amount, he might have eaten some more ults here on heroes with the capability to eat those ults, but Calios near the top of the list. So overall, very impressive. I'm kind of curious, I haven't actually done this yet. If I go back through the beginning of this season, I wonder where Calios sits in the grand scheme of things. Piggy's eaten 6 ults on the year. And he's played a lot of Sigma and a lot of Diva. Calios in 1 week jumps a lot of other guys. I'm eating 12. Interesting stuff. I always like mess around with these a little bit. He's 4th in the rates overall for all players. So, hey, Calios looking pretty nice. He didn't have a perfect week. And here we see Hotba with a really nice rock to block Calios out of the sky and his flux. More of an impressive play by Hotba than it is Calios making a mistake. But he had a little bit more of a chance to try and dodge that. You can see that he wasn't looking at Hotba, so his awareness isn't exactly perfect. Yeah, he could have done more to avoid that one, but hey, I'll chalk that one up to a really nice play from Hotba more than anything else. Last but not least, we get here, I don't know, to me this was an interesting one. It's either a big brain play or really lucky. He rounds the corner here. He has grab. And the second he rounds the corner, he just gets blown up. Dodges the rock, which actually, now that I'm watching this in slow motion, I didn't notice that earlier. He dodged the rock. I gotta watch this a second time. Sometimes you see things after you watch multiple times. So he baits the rock, then comes back around knowing the brig is right there. He gets stunned. I think he's really trying to feign that he's about to grab. Then he pulls it out and really nice grab it. Gets multiple and the fight's over. So wow, I was going to come in and say this is a bad play by Calios after watching it in real time earlier. Now that I'm watching it again, I'm like, he baited that. He totally baited 2 stuns to get the grab out when they knew he had the grab, or at least thought he had the grab. So nice play. Big brain. Maybe I should move Calios up even more. I recommend picking him up if it has not been done in your league already. So NYXL, we now have a new off tank that is a bigger upgrade than Bianca. If we go back to Guangbong, we know he won the Widow 1v1 competition, and here we have a chance to watch some sick play from him. Really nasty headshot, and that's not even my personal favorite. He gets MCD, we'll go back 5 seconds, nice shot on MCD, starts to pressure out Bernard, and helps get that elimination. If not confirming it himself here. I can't quite remember. He helps get that one, though. And really swings this team fight. He should have been dying to Architect's Tracer. He gets an amazing kill. Gets IDK. And then for me, maybe my favorite of the entire year. I love this observer angle they got. I don't know why I love this shot so much. But this was the real-time observers that caught this. Nails MCD back there in spawn. I'm not telling you anything you probably don't already know. He's an insane Widow player. But that's not why we are interested in him for fantasy. Here we've got Guangbong on the Ashe, and we get to see him get a very nice 3K. Most of it on screen here, although not all of it. The first thing that happens here is not so good. He gets pulled and rocked and immediately blown up. So if we go back, this is what I was chastising him for earlier on in the preseason. I was still very excited about him for preseason. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I predicted exactly what would happen here. But the issue that we ran into multiple times was that he would get caught out of position and die in situations where he shouldn't. And in this one, it's not like he's just like bumbling around, not doing anything. He gets caught by a nice halt and rock combo, but he shouldn't be putting himself in that position to begin with. So mistake there from Guangbong, but he's now starting to look a little bit better in other situations. So on to the kills I told you about earlier. So Guangbong had a very tall order here playing against Shy. We see here off screen that he gets the headshot on Shy, and as the fight progresses, he's definitely contributing and gets another kill here. So what I think is important is we saw him this week bust out the McCree, we saw him bust out the Ash, and of course the Widow. And he was solid on all three of those heroes. I would argue that NYXL is at their best when the composition favors them being able to put Guangbong on a strong hit scan role. He doesn't have flexibility, at least not that he's displayed. Here he gets the kill on Gushue and loading in a lot of damage. It just looks to me like his awareness is improving. His, either a combination of his learning and growing or NYXL's coaching working. Some combination of all of the above. When we've seen Kaylee come in, over and over, Kaylee has not looked any better. We are seeing substantial improvement from Guangbong, and I'm pretty excited at his future prospects in future years. I don't think he's there yet. He's not some kind of elite player just waiting to be unleashed, but he's not far off. And this, I'm starting to view him as a viable fantasy pickup. We'll get here in a little bit why he's not an every week starter, but he's definitely interesting. Guangbong has proven to be very effective when he is on his meta heroes. The same can be said of Feather. He loves the Genji, and preseason, that was one of the things that we saw about him. And here we get a really interesting one. I'm going to back up and slow it down. He gets the nano from Jonak to build his blade, and we just see a lot happen very quickly. So he does a good job using the nano to lay in some damage. He avoids the flux. Let me go back just a little bit. So he builds his ult rather quickly. He gets stunned out by the Brig, but then there's a flux and he quickly backs up, avoids the damage there, and then just sick mechanical right click. He blades right away. Dangerous situation. He banks on the McCree not having flashbang, which he does. He's a little bit lucky that Alarm misses, but he's able to do some damage with the blade. No fear, pushing the boundaries. Probably should have died, and it's not perfection, but it's a level of aggression and smart buildup that led to a very successful attack here. Where Feather is a little bit loose on the Genji, but also very dangerous, here we see a solo EMP on screen of him getting IDK. The follow-up is not really there right away. Spark and Sominsu use their own EMP, and IDK never dies. Overall, it's hard to pull clips of when somebody is playing poorly on a hero. I don't know that I'm smart enough to say, oh yeah, Feather is playing poorly on Sombra, but he definitely wasn't nearly as impactful. And this team is looking at their strongest, like I said, when Feather's on probably either the Mei or the Genji. His Echo has been okay, not quite what I would have hoped, and his Sombra ain't exactly it either. So he's showing some, it's a little bit dangerous to call him hyper flexible, but he is showing a lot of flexibility and being able to play a lot of stuff, which Guangbong hasn't been able to do. So, in wrapping up on New York, I think Flora is still the alpha here. Nothing major to update you on other than that we saw a lot of his Tracer, which was decent, but not amazing. I think Guangbong is more valuable than Feather going forward for the first time, but it's not by a lot, and they're going to cannibalize each other's value quite a bit. We'll see what meta comes out in the last stage. I could see either Feather or Guangbong getting a lot of playing time, depending on the meta. They're both worth owning and picking up, but it's very hard to predict high value given what flexibility has been required across all metas so far. Moving on down the list, Lateyoung is worth a pickup, but I don't like him nearly as much as Kalios. So we saw Lateyoung, and in this play, there's not too much to analyze. He's taking a lot of damage. He uses his Diva ult in a very uninteresting way, and I bring this up just to show it's not like this is like bad or stupid, but you would hope that your off tank would have a little bit better ability usage. I know he's trying to save HP. I know he's trying to help flip a losing fight, but that wasn't exactly it. And I use this as a bit of a discourse on Lateyoung to say, historically, he's been a little bit of a Zarya one trick. I think he's probably still really strong on the hero, but I think his other off tank picks are below average. So I do see him as a downgrade from the now retired Elsa. I'm not going to sit here and call him a Zarya one trick. I think he was good enough on Diva and on Sigma, and clearly the Hunters had a really good week. So it's not like he's really holding them back. Excuse me, sorry. Had to mute there for a second because I ate a lot of dinner. But if we go back to Lateyoung, here we see a flux from him, and if we put it in slow-mo, he's going for a big one here. With the way the teams are positioned, it's not like they can immediately jump in on it with a Jinmu Doomfist. With Leave on the Echo, he could probably quickly follow up, but he's going for a big juicy flux here. Even if he gets it, it's not like this is like guaranteed one fight. And all that happens is he only gets the Orisa, and then the Orisa fortifies. Little bit of a wasted ult. You can see what he was going for, but so could Philadelphia. And I don't think it was all that great a play on his part. So once again, he was good enough on the Sigma, good enough on the Diva, that he's not going to completely hold the Hunters back. I have to assume that his Zarya is still his best off-tank pick. Not super excited about him in the future, but he did play every map. So he's ownable. He is startable if you don't have elite or even top tier, above average, off tank / elite main tanks on your roster. Said another way, instead of rambling, there is a roster in every league that can use this guy, but if you're sitting up there in first, second place, your roster may not be the one. I've got to talk a little bit about the off tank position for the Toronto Defiant. If you missed it, Aztac here is playing Zarya for the Defiant, which I don't know that anybody would have ever predicted. He is their backup flex support, who has hardly touched the server because Lastro is really good, but we've not seen a ton of Zarya from Michelle, but we have seen it, and Michelle is fine on the hero, so it was really strange to see this. Aztac didn't play terribly. I think this was probably his biggest highlight of the day here, getting high charge and laying in some damage. But I am confused by this one, I'm not going to lie. I think the Defiant are trying things out. They only put in Aztac on Zarya, and only against the Gladiators, but it was for 2 of the 3 maps, enough to kind of tank Michelle's value for the week. The other map that Aztac played in a 3-0 loss to the Gladiators was on Eichenwald. He once more only played the Zarya, so this seems to be some kind of pre-prepared strat. I don't think he is going to challenge Michelle for the overall off-tank starting role. And in the second matchup of the week, they played the Fuel, and Michelle played the full match. In this particular example, we see, I'm going to slow it down just a little bit, we see Aztac using Bubble, poking a little bit, taking a little bit of damage, and maybe going a little bit too far. After the Bubble wears off, Shu gets a really nice nade on Aztac, who's slightly out of position. And I love Space's face there, by the way. Didn't notice that earlier. He sees something he likes here, and he goes and dives along with Muse, the slightly out of position Aztac, who then suicide right clicks as he's going down. The Defiant are able to counter here at least a little bit. This one does lead to the Gladiators taking the point, but just overall showing, I don't think Aztac stood out as like a great Zarya. It's not like I'm really excited about his Zarya play going forward, I do see it as a possible risk that he comes in, and you have to see a slight dip in Michelle's value, but I still am somewhat okay with Michelle. So just know that there's some serious risk, but I'm still holding Michelle in one league, starting him if I have to, and kind of hoping things work out. I'll be quick on this one. Tuba! I love Tuba. I really wish we could have seen him all a little bit more this year. I liked him as a DPS. He came in on Brig for the Justice a lot throughout the weekend, and what an amazing whip shot double kill. He's the best Brig on the planet, and he is going to take over as the savior of the Washington Justices season. Just check out the whip shot. It is ridiculous. Come on, come on. Let's see it. Right when it's off of cooldown. The instant it's off of cooldown. Rounds the corner. Gets the shift. And, man, you thought Skewed was the best Brig. No, it's Tuba. Tuba. I love you, Tuba. Yeah, don't play closer anymore. That's about all I can glean from that. We've got a couple more DPSs to look at pretty quickly here to round out the show. Valentine finally delivering on me overhyping him at the start of the season. So, spoiler alert, the Boston Uprising crushed the Outlaws 3-0, and it was largely behind the play of Valentine. So, the Nano Blade in ult cycling along with IM37's Sombra was really nasty. And in this case, the Outlaws drop everything to try and stop the Nano Blade. It's not enough for Crimzo, who goes down in 2 slashes. Piggy uses the Flux. And yeah, they get the kill, but the damage is already done. He gets happy, and the Uprising are able to follow up on the other extremely low players. So successful Nano Blade there. Maybe more importantly, he was diffing Dante on the Echo pretty hard. Dante's admitted that he had a bad game. Maybe this is a one-time thing. Maybe it's a reflection of what's to come. But Valentine had a really good day on Echo, and really just straight up played and was more impactful than Dante in the match. So, you know, you'll take it as a Boston Uprising fan. I've said it a bunch of times that I think the Uprising's path to victory here is trying to rely on Valentine as the hard carry, and this week things worked out. So definitely some strong play from him. We won't solely watch him beat up on Houston because he actually had a pretty solid performance against Atlanta as well. But you'll see here, if you watch in the top left, he gets the nano, he blades, and you kind of see him pop up here. But Happy just does not even see it coming. Like, the nano blade is going, he never even has Valentine on his screen, and he's dead. I like the mechanics here. He pushes the boundaries and gets swings on the very edge of their distance, and just hunts down a very scared Outlaws team. So really just wrecking there on the Nano Blade. The strategy was built around his prowess on the Genji, and it worked. Against Atlanta, he was also a little bit of a difference maker on the Echo, which is easier to do when Pelican is playing the Mei than when he is on the Echo. Would have loved to have seen a little bit more of them going at it, but pretty nice to see him on the hero, just having a large impact on the game and being the reason that the Uprising are looking really competitive. In short, there's probably not a huge fantasy move to make here, but I think Valentine is coming into his own a little bit, doing what I think he's capable of. Can't promise it will continue, but his stocks are looking up. I talked about it a little bit on the last episode, but Mirror continues to be... I feel bad because Mirror, he's kind of like this thorn in your side if you're a fantasy player, because you think, oh, Kevster Birdring are going to play nearly every time, and what the heck are they doing putting Mirror in there? He's no good. Well, that's clearly not the case. I think he showed a little bit of weakness on the Doomfist last week. Not that it's a bad Doomfist, but he was very aggressive at times, and it lost him a few fights. But here he once again shows off his remarkable flexibility, and although a lot of it happens off screen, his Echo is just cleaning up. We know Kevster's good on the hero, but it just gives the Gladiators some extreme flexibility being able to put Mirror in there. In metas where flexibility is really valued, it it's going to lead to you being a lot more valuable too. And Mirror delivers there in spades. I love this one where he punches Mag off of the ledge. This is a 4v4 fight. Things are pretty, can get pretty scrappy, and Mirror he always has the creative plays to try and win things over. Maybe it's more of a mark against Mag for not seeing this coming, as a main tank who I like to think is very calculated. In a 4v4, one of your main losing conditions here is getting booped off by either Space or Mirror. So seeing that play, a bit of a mistake from Mag, but overall I like to see Mirror. The flexibility and the creativity are always there, and I think, Gladiators wise, it is going to be a little bit of a pain trying to decide what DPSs are going to play going forward. This is just me throwing my hat in there saying sorry to the Kevster and Bird Ring owners. That is all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed. I think this is a little bit quicker show for you, and hope you enjoy the stats. But if you have questions on specific players or specific stats of the week, sorry, I get distracted watching this play. So sad. Feel so bad for Happy. Really hope you enjoyed the show. As always, this is one of my favorite parts of my week, just getting to sit in front of the mic and talk about all the fantastic Overwatch that took place over the weekend and giving you some subpar analysis. But hey, maybe it's some analysis that no one out there is giving you. So hope it's helpful for you and your teams. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer those on Twitter or on YouTube. Love you all. Thanks for still watching, especially at this point in the season. Hope you are looking good going into playoffs. And if you have any specific lineup questions, do let me know, and I will be giving those a little bit more love and attention than I usually do, just because I know how important these are to all of you who are going to be in the playoffs. Good luck. Talk to you soon.